Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my September wrap up and chatting through everything that I got up to, as well as the books that I read over this past month. So September was just a great month for me. I had my massive holiday to Japan, which was amazing. So I was in Japan for about 2.5 weeks, or like 3 weeks in total was what I was off, because I also spent a couple of days in Shanghai. So it was fantastic. I would just recommend Japan to everybody. Amazing holiday. We went to Tokyo, Lake Kawaguchiko, where we saw Fuji, Kyoto, Osaka, Hiroshima, Fukuoka, Shanghai. It was just amazing. Like, so many sights to see, so many things to do, so much food. Food was amazing. I did get engaged at Mount Fuji, so that was also a very exciting part of the holiday. Very happy that that's the highlight, absolute highlight of the year, not just the month. Yeah, loving life. But now crashing back to the realities of work and life and normal day-to-day life. But memories will be there. My reading was a little bit chaotic, I would say. That I thought I'd be able to read some things whilst I was away, just because of the nature of being like on transport, but we were quite busy. Like, we did a lot of walking, and that's quite, tiring. That I had packed our days quite full with things I wanted to see and do, because you do, like, the nature of it is you are there and you've got to try and fit in as much as you can within that short space of time. So our days were quite packed. So I did some reading whilst I was away, but maybe not quite as much as maybe I anticipated. Either way, I did do an okay amount, and then I have managed to do some good reading since getting back. Well, I managed to do some reading. I am filming this a couple of days early, so it is the 28th of September. So I do still have a couple of days. So I'm in the middle of 2 things, which for the purpose of this, have counted that I've finished, because I'm assuming that over the next 3 days, I will finish them. I am determined to finish them. I've got quite a way to go in both of them, but I will make it work. So if I finish those, it will mean that I will have read 7 books in the month of September, coming to a total of 4,109 pages. 6 of the books were fantasy, 1 was a sci-fi, all 7 of them were adult. And then in terms of my star ratings, I have 2 5 stars, 2 4 stars, 1 3 star, and then the 2 that are pending, and I expect those ones will end in that 3 to 4 range. They're definitely not in the 5, and they're definitely not in the 2, so they're going to be between 3 and 4. Even though, I've got a good chunk of them left, but I feel pretty confident they'll be in that 3 to 4 range unless things dramatically change in the second half of both those books. And then for what these books are, one of them finished a series, one of them restarted a series that I had previously had on the go, so just back to the beginning again, which puts my on the go at 29. So I have got back down into the 20s, but still pretty high, and probably not quite where I anticipated, because I've got so many series where I've just got 1 book left now. So many. Over the next few months, I just need to finish those bits off and get us back into the mid-20s. We'll just dive right in. So one that I anticipated that I was going to finish in August, and it just didn't quite happen. Before we left for the holiday, I had 2 and a bit hours left of the audiobook, and I was just way too ambitious of what I was going to be able to achieve at the end of August. And then in the first few days that we were there, I didn't listen to it. So I did manage to listen to the end of Kingdom of Ash on, I think it was the 3rd of September. I didn't have much left at that time. I don't know how many pages it was, but it was a couple of hours. I listened to it on the bus from Fuji to Tokyo on that bit of the journey. It was the perfect length for that journey. Like, I literally finished it as we were pulling into the Tokyo bus station. It felt very satisfying. But this wrapped up Kingdom of Ash. I read the majority of this, the vast majority, in August. So it feels a little bit harsh to be to August for me counting these pages into my September wrap up, but that's where they've fallen. I love this series. I loved rereading it. It was so good rereading this series. It's been like a cool part of my year, just having fun, I wasn't even really binging. I just like read it in big chunks. And then this is, I think, Sarah J. Maas's best work. We're following Selena Sardothian, who is an assassin, and at the beginning of the first book, she gets taken out of prison or jail where she has been for the past year by the king's captain of the guard and his son, the prince, and is entered into this training to be the king's assassin, or this competition to be the king's assassin. But it goes so much more from there, and there's such a big world, so many different like relationships with friendships, relationships. Oh, and the twists and the turns and the things that Sarah puts these characters through. This was so good. Had so much fun. 5 stars. Like, adored it. Adored this. And I need to figure out my next like audiobook. Well, I sort of have figured it out, I think, but I need to, you know, really lock in on my next sort of like audiobook series, I think. So I did manage to get that one all wrapped up. Then one of my plans for whilst I was away was working through some advanced reader copies that I had requested from publishers. So I was predominantly reading on my Kindle whilst away, because I was like, this is the opportunity to be a Kindle reader. And I'm actually really enjoying my Kindle. I'm really liking it. I don't know if it's just like it's new, but I am really enjoying it. And one of the joys I've discovered, this feels like such a, I don't know, something really obvious that I should have realised before, is that my boyfriend, fiance, likes to go to bed earlier than me. And because he likes to go to the 6 a.m. gym class, like, anyway, I'm probably more like a 10:30 bedtime. He's probably more like a 9:30 bedtime. But this means the Kindle lights up, so I can stay reading in bed, all comfy and cozy, with the lights off so that he's happy, because he's always annoyed because I've still got the light on. And now we're both happy. Why didn't I ever think of this before? It just seems so logical, but loving the Kindle, and I got it, or I upgraded it for loads of these arcs that I was going to be reading whilst on holiday. I did manage to get to 2 advanced read copies that I'd requested, not quite the third one. So the first one I got to was, which is now released, is The Summer War by Naomi Novik. I went and picked this up the other day in Waterstones. It's a lovely, a little cute edition. This is a short story by her, and we're following a main character, Celia, who was 12 years old on the day she cast her brother. And there's been this war that's been going on for many years between the humans and the Fae. The Fae feel like they've been wronged, and it just seems to be this cycle of violence until Celia's father ends up sort of stopping it, and it seems like it's paused. The fairies have sort of resigned themselves to having lost, and it's the end. It's the end of their war. But is it really? And we're following the politics within this world and the relationships at play with this family. We're mostly following Celia, who is quite young through the course of the story, and seeing what she's going through and things that she is witnessing. I really thoroughly enjoyed this. It was just a lot of fun. It was a really easy read. It was quite atmospheric. I enjoyed the sort of medieval setting, the knights, the tale of like having been wronged and seeking vengeance, and are you ever going to be satisfied in that? And seeing Celia's relationships with her family, with her father and with her 2 brothers, and their places within that family hierarchy, and Celia's like cleverness as well, because she was really clever for a young child, really. So I really enjoyed this one. I'd recommend it as just an easy fun read. And then the other one that I read was All That We See and Seem by Ken Liu. This is his latest sci-fi release that's coming out in October, and I feel quite mixed about this one. So in this, we're following main character Julia, who is a hacker. It's set in a futuristic society which is very reliant on AI, so it's as though technology has developed just a little bit more than what we are at now, that it didn't seem too far away from our current reality. It was probably only, a little bit into the future as a potential of where AI could get us to. And Julia has been living a quiet life. She wants to pretty much stay off social media. She doesn't really want to have much of an internet presence. She had a bit of a run-in with the law a few years ago, and she sort of just wants to be under the radar, but she's very good at technology and hacking systems. And at the beginning of the book, this guy approaches her because his wife has gone missing. And his wife has a really interesting job where she does collective dreaming, which is this new development that has come out, where the world is so, determined by technology and AI, that how can you actually have a real lived experience? And so people go to these collective dreams. But his wife has gone missing, and he is trying to find her and figure out what has happened to her. And the potential like dangerous situation that his wife has managed to get herself into. So we follow those two trying to figure out what's happening, and Julia's skill set as this hacker and being able to hack into these systems. I think Ken Liu is a great writer, and I think he does a really good job of playing around with ideas. That having read The Paper Menagerie, one of his short story collections, he's great with exploring technology and the effects that will have on society and people, and taking that idea and exploring it. I think that's great. I didn't quite understand all of Julia's motives. It felt as though she got herself embroiled within the situation really quickly, that she'd kept to herself, she didn't really have many friends, and she just sort of accepted that she was into this situation, whereas she could have easily just not been in it. And yeah, that felt a little bit unbelievable to me and a little bit forced. Also, and I did hear this afterwards, it felt long or a little bit convoluted, and that I'd heard originally Ken Liu had planned this as a novella, but then was told by his agent or editor to make it into a full-length story. And actually I think it would have worked better as a novella, that there wasn't enough in it to make it a full-length novel, or that particularly the second half felt a little bit of an add-on to what was a wrapped up plot. It definitely wasn't Ken Liu's strongest. It was sort of like a 3-star for me, that it didn't quite have the same flourish and the same tightness in writing, the tightness in plotting and crafting as the Dandelion Dynasty. So those were the 2 arcs that I managed to get to whilst I was away. I did start very briefly The Island of the Silver Sea. I think I'm at chapter 3, so I didn't get very far in that one. I will come back to it. I think I started it on the plane home, but I was so tired at that point on this like 15-hour flight home, and I didn't have brain capacity for it. So I do need to probably restart that one and continue on, hopefully in early October. I've done an okay job. Did an okay job on those. The final book that I read whilst I was away was Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. This is my reread of this, so I read this quite a few years ago, I think in 2016 or so when it came out, and then I read a few more within the series. This is the one that I am thinking I'm going to start my like audiobooks for this series. So I did actually do the audiobook and ebook combined together, and I read like a massive chunk on the plane home, and finished this off. I must have read a good few hundred pages of this on that plane home. And this was following our 2 main characters, Safi and Isolde, who are best friends, and they have, in this world, people can have different magics. Safi is a truth witch, which is a highly coveted power or skill that she has kept hidden for the majority of her life, and Isolde is a thread witch. And we know at the beginning of the book that this 20-year truce between all of the countries is coming to an end, and Safi and Isolde end up pretty much in the whole middle of this, with people wanting to have Safi's powers on their side and chase across the lands for them both. I think the world building is really interesting in this, that there's so much at play with the history of this world, with this growing threat that's going on. I like all the different magics that our characters have, and the relationships as well I think are done particularly well. That there's romantic relationships within this. The friendships are so interesting, particularly between Safi and Isolde, and seeing how much they value each other, and the threads at play with the politics. So I had a great time. Rereading this, and looking forward to continuing on with my reread. I also enjoyed having that mixture of ebook, audiobook, and that definitely I think helps speed me through. So that is what I managed to read whilst I was away, which, you know, I was relatively happy with, considering how busy we were. I then came back, and I did also, whilst I was away, start a book, which is one that I still have ongoing. I've been quite sporadic and slow with reading it. I did speak about taking this book with me, and I didn't actually read much physically, or, you know, outside of my Kindle, but that is Best Served Cold by Jo Abercrombie. So I obviously have this physically. I did also get the audiobook, which is predominantly what I'm using now to read this. I am 378 pages in. I think I read about 80 pages of this whilst I was away, and then I started something else. So I'm really hoping I can get this all wrapped up by the end of the month. I've got under 300 pages to go. Maybe we'll see how I do. I think I have about 6 hours left in the audiobook. And I have been reading some of that already today. I think I've read about 80 pages today so far. But this one is a revenge-centered story following Makato, who is seeking revenge for the murder of her brother against the people that were there at that time, the people that orchestrated it. She almost died at that time as well, and so we're following her and this motley crew that she's put together as they try and kill each of these six people in different ways across the world, and I guess the chaos that's putting into this world that constantly seems to be at war. I am feeling a little bit mixed about it. I'm not feeling obsessed with the characters, the situation. I mean, obviously I don't want to speak too soon because I still have 300 pages left, assuming we're going to be moving on to the next. That I've witnessed a few of her revenge murders. I'm assuming we're going to continue on now into the next ones. I'm not loving it, really. Like, it's obviously, it's not done anything like horribly wrong or anything. I feel like the writing's absolutely fine. I'm just feeling a bit lukewarm on the whole thing, really. Maybe it's just the plot's not like quite capturing me. I just don't really care. I don't really feel attached to any of the characters, that I'm not rooting for Monza. Like, yeah, I'd say that. I'm not really rooting for them. I guess it's got that traditional Joe Abercrombie vibe that none of the characters are nice. And potentially if Monza was nicer, then maybe I'll be rooting for her more and supporting her in her path of revenge. But she's not exactly a really nice person. She's done some horrible things in her life, and the only person she really valued was her brother. So it's not like she's any better than the people that she's setting out to murder, because she's probably done exactly the same thing to loads of other people. And just because it now affects her is that she's now on this path of revenge. But maybe that's the whole point. That is probably the whole point, that Joe Abercrombie is a grimdark writer, and that you're not meant to like them. But I haven't really been gravitating at all to picking this book up. I read those few pages whilst I was away. It sat in my bag for the rest of the trip. I then read a bit more whilst I got back, and the only reason I've been able to continue to get as far as I have is with the audio, which I think is done well. Like I knew that going into the audiobook that it was going to be well performed. Obviously it's not a final rating, and I'll put my final rating, I guess, on the screen of what I've actually rated it, but a bit mixed. Yeah, but I since getting back, I have read a book that I have really thoroughly enjoyed and given 5 stars, which I have finished, and it's a chunky one. I ended up on a whim, not part of the plans. I picked up Manacled by Sen Yu, so the fan fiction, and I was obsessed with it. I binged it. Could not put that down. I really could not put it down. I think I was excited about Alchemist coming out, which I haven't picked up yet. My copy has arrived, but Alchemist wasn't out yet, and I just had this craving for it, and I just went, well, why not pick it up? You've got it on your Kindle, like, just read it. And so I started, and straight away I was in. Straight away I was like, I really like this. I'm obsessed. I don't want to put this down. I want to be reading this all the time. Why do I have to work? I just want to be reading, and that's the feeling that I want. That's the feeling I want all books to be able to deliver, is that why am I not reading right now? Why do I have to be living my life? Or why can't I just be curled up with my book? And that book gave me that feeling. I do think that there are some parts where it could have been tightened up, and probably, hopefully, that has been done in Alchemist, which I am still very excited to read, even though I now, I guess, know the plot beats of where that is going to be heading. But Manacled is the Hermione Draco fanfiction. It's set in the world of Harry Potter, but the Dark Lord has won, and Hermione is the only surviving member of the Order of the Phoenix, and she has been locked up and imprisoned. And at the beginning of the book, she, in a very sort of Handmaid's Tale-esque situation, gets bequeathed to Draco. And it's quite dark, but you realise there's a whole past of things that we are not aware of at the beginning of the book, because she has blocked her memory and she's suffering from a lot of memory loss. So I found it really compelling to read. There were some definitely hard scenes in it, but it was very compelling. I had a great time. I was happy with like the whole plotting of it, from everything that happened throughout. I just ate it all up. I do think that there are some parts that could have been tightened a little bit more, that they became a little bit repetitive, but I didn't really care. I was just so locked in. I had a great time. But yeah, I spontaneously read that and I'm so happy I did that. And then finally, the book that I am currently physically reading and hoping to wrap up in the next couple of days is Catabasis by Ara Kwang, her latest release, which is following two students of magical academia in Cambridge, Alice and Peter, and they are sort of academic rivals, and they are both under the same advisor, and that advisor has died and gone to hell, and so Alice and Peter take it upon themselves to journey into hell to rescue his soul, so that they can get their recommendation letters for getting a job following their time at Cambridge. And it's following their journey through hell and the different levels of hell and the situations that they are getting up to there, whilst also looking at their history, how they met, their time within Cambridge, this professor, and the good and the bad of this professor, more like bad, and the academic lens. Like with Best Served Cold, I'm actually feeling a little bit mixed about this one as well. So I don't think I'm quite ending the month on the highest of highs. That I am 266 pages in, so just about halfway, but again, I've been making good progress on this one. I think that there are moments of this where I'm really invested and intrigued and enjoying what's going on as we follow the characters and their journey through hell. Then there will be sections where Ara Kwang goes off on a little bit of a tangent and gets quite academic on me. And I know people said this about like Babel as well, and I was absolutely fine with Babel, but I feel like I'm really noticing it in this, where she's going off on these tangents and I'm like, can we just hurry it along please? Like, I get it, you're clever, but can we get back to what's actually going on? And it feels like it's taking me out of the story a little bit. I mean, I'm not finished. I will once again put my final rating on the screen, but that's how I'm feeling as of right now, that it's a little bit convoluted, that there's the plot that's there, which I am enjoying. It just doesn't need the tangents. Good bones, but some of it could have been, I don't think needs to be in here. We'll see how I feel when I get to the end of this, and hopefully the second half is more focused on plot and less on academic academic thoughts. So that's everything that I read and got up to in the month of September. A busy but excellent month with lots of highs, lots of highs. Let me know how your September went and if you have read anything spectacular in the month of September. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye!